Moving on from this conversation slightly, keeping it with strikers, because the agenda got kind of thrown off a little bit today because of the breaking news. Have you all seen Eddie Howe's comments today? And he well finds them weird. I'll put them up on the screen in case people haven't seen them. But Eddie Howe today has said on Isak, he says, I love him as a player, I love him as a person, and we want him to stay. I'd never give the guarantee of anyone staying because I've been in football long enough to know that I could end up looking very silly, so I don't do that. The desire from everyone to keep him is as strong as it could be. So fingers crossed that won't happen. But he's also doing individual training at the moment as well, according to sources at Newcastle. Liverpool seemingly haven't given up. There's offers from Saudi. I don't know about you, LB. For a club that isn't going to sell him, no one ever seems that convinced when they're actually questioned in person.
Nah, I wouldn't read too much into the training on his own thing, because that could be for anything. That could be a specific routine. He could have a little bit of a knock or whatever. So I wouldn't read into anything like that. Listen, I think Isak wanted the Liverpool move, is my opinion. I think he probably wanted to go, which makes sense. You know, Liverpool just won the Premier League, got Salah, they got first. Why would you not want to join them rather than stay at Newcastle? If that deal's now off the table because Liverpool might be making the move for Ekitike, then where does he go? You know what I mean? So I've said for some time, I think he stays at Liverpool for one more season, and I think he leaves Newcastle next year. That's what I think happens. And I think he probably goes Barca, or maybe Bayern if Kane leaves and comes back to the Prem, whatever. But I think he leaves next year. Now, if the Saudis are in for him, you've got to think to yourself, how much money are they going to be offering him, right? Because they're paying Tony 400 grand a week tax free, 400 grand a week for Tony. So if they're paying Tony 400 grand a week, what would they be willing to offer Isak, who's in his prime, 26 years old? Tony was, I think, 30 or 31, something like that. So they're probably going to be offering $1 million, close to $1 million, you'd think, per week, tax-free. And regardless of what some of these guys in the chat will say, that would turn your head. Yeah. So maybe he's going to go. I'd be surprised. I would be surprised. But if the Saudis are serious, then that might happen. But where else would he go? Don't think PSG really want to play with a striker. They're happy with a false nine situation. Real Madrid, I think too much going on there for this summer. Barca, yeah, but do they have the funds? If they say to Isak, do one more year, we'll sort our finance that come in for you next year. Also, then he'll only have 2 years left on the contract, so it makes it a little bit easier to try and get him out of Newcastle. The price would be lower. I still think he stays one more year. But I do think he's leaving. I'd be surprised if he's still there in a couple of years.
Yeah, I just find the whole thing a little bit, not fishy. Fishy's probably the wrong word for it. It's just, if he was as dedicated as they said, and they weren't going to accept any bids, and he wasn't open to leaving, I just don't see why they're leaving him out of games. I don't see why Eddie Howe can't say he's 100% staying. If he sat with a player and the player has said, I'm just not accepting anybody's offers, which is the rhetoric some of their journalists have tried to push from April, that it's just an impossibility. That's what I don't like, I think it is. That's probably what the feeling I've got is. I feel that Newcastle's journalists are bullshitting to their fans, and I don't like that. There is a genuine... You saw it a few weeks ago. The bid's just gone in now for Johan Wissa. And a week and a half ago from Newcastle, 25 million's been rejected. Fucking 25 million. United should fucking go back in for him as well. But about a week, 10 days ago, there was this horrible bullshit lie created. Well, if Wissa goes to Newcastle first, Brentford are going to pull out the Mbumo deal. Or if Mbumo goes, Wissa will stay. No, they're both going to fucking leave. They're both going. I don't like how certain journalists who are connected to certain clubs kind of lie to their fan bases. When sentences are, there's no intention to sell, or they don't want to sell, or there's no plans right now to sell, that means for the right money we'll sell. That also means we can't control the player, or we can't stop him. I don't know why there isn't honesty in these circuits. That's the bit that annoys me, I think. There should be some honesty in those circumstances around the fact that this is a deal that is plausible and could happen. The player is certainly not said, no matter what happens, I'm staying at Newcastle. Otherwise, they'd have put this to bed ages ago. And that's the bit for me that I probably found jarring this summer. As you talk about these stories and you get hit with abuse. No way, the player said he loves the club. Yeah, he probably does love the club. But this isn't his marriage. He ain't talking about his fucking children. He's talking about a company he works for. I love loads of jobs I had. But if a better job comes along, toodle pip. Do you know what I mean? That's the bit I don't. This annoyed me during this conversation. The conversations about it. The deal's on. His exit in itself is on. Where he goes, who knows? But he could definitely leave.
He's obviously open. He's obviously open to leaving. Now that doesn't mean he wants to leave right now, but he's obviously got his eye on a move, right?
Yeah.
The facts are, Ornstein come out and said Liverpool were in talks with Newcastle and were prepared to offer a bid of around 120 million. There is absolutely zero way Liverpool are doing that if they've not got a nod from Isak or his agent that he'd do the deal. No chance. No football club does that. Yeah, as Tottenham have found out because they got caught. Yeah. Everybody, I know you're not meant to do that. I know you're meant to go to the club and say, oh, can we speak to your player about a potential move? And they give you permission. Nobody does that. They all go to the agent and say, right, we want to buy you. Would you be open to the deal? Because why on earth would you spend all that time negotiating with a club just for the player to turn around and go, I don't want to join you.
Well, Arsenal did it a few Januaries ago with Vlahovic. They put the bid in, got the bid accepted, and then the player's agent wouldn't answer the calls. It's just a bad look when you do that. It's a really bad look.
Bro, so he's obviously open to the idea of moving. I just don't think he's willing to force it yet. I think at the end of the day, you don't need to force it. Newcastle are in the Champions League. Yeah, they get into finals. They've been in 2 finals in the last couple of years. They've won a trophy. It's not like he's at some dead club. Yeah, so I think that if he can get a move this summer, I think he'd like it. But I don't think he's going to be forcing the move because of where Newcastle are. They can win silverware and they're in the Champions League. Next summer, it'll be 27. He'll only have 2 years left on the deal. If Newcastle aren't looking like they're going to win the Premier League or Champions League anytime soon, then I think at that point he forces his way out of the club. But Newcastle will get over 100 million quid for him, so it is what it is. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I still think he stays because I just don't see who gets him this summer unless the Saudis legit do come in for him. But then aren't they owned by the Saudis? So that's not a bit weird, isn't it?
I think Newcastle's got that little bit of wiggle room for another year in terms of Isak, purely because the transfer fee doesn't hugely differ from 3 years left on your deal to 2 years. If it was 2 years to 1 year and say you had 2 years left on his deal, I think you'd be seeing Isak move this summer purely because I think the transfer fee and what you can negotiate drastically changes from 2 years to 1 year, where I don't think it does so much from 3 to 2. What I do think will happen, I reckon he'll stay for another year. And that's when I do think next season we will probably see Isak move, purely because Newcastle don't want themselves in a situation where Isak's there for another year. He's won him a cup last year. Maybe he'll win him another trophy or whatever next year or whatever. But I reckon next year in his heart of hearts will be like, this is the absolute year I want to move. Whereas this year, I still think there's probably scope within Isak. We don't know this for sure. It's just my opinion. But I think Isak, if you was to say to him, stay at Newcastle 1 more year, it wouldn't be the end of the world for him. Whereas I think next year, he'd probably be thinking, now is my absolute time to move.
Well, it'll be 27 then.
Yeah.
It'll be 27. That's why I think he's not going to be forcing his way out. It's not like he's 28, 29 and he's like, I need to be winning Champions Leagues now. My career's coming to, not coming to an end, but I've got a couple of years left at the top. He can take his time. You don't want to rush a move. And like I say, fundamentally, he's at a decent team. You know what I mean? Newcastle have a good squad. They've got a good manager. Yeah. They're in the Champions League and they win trophies. Well, they have won a trophy in 2 finals. So that's where I'm at. Yeah, I've got a question for you. Yeah, if you, I don't know if you can answer this, Paul, but let's just play a game, right? If I give you, and the Arsenal fans in the chat, if I give you the option of Gyökeres now, or you don't sign a striker, but then I guarantee that you get Isak next summer, which one would you go for?
Whilst I concede that Isak probably would be the better player, I'm sick of waiting another year. I really am. And I know there's also more guarantees with Isak in terms of he's done it in the Premier League. I don't want to wait another year. Maybe if you asked me this question 2+ years ago, maybe I'd have had a little bit more patience under this setup. But I also need to do something now. Absolutely now. And if you was asking me of like a Sesko-esque sort of player, I'd have probably said maybe, do you know what, I'll wait.
Yeah,
But because Gyökeres is coming in with good pedigree, and I expect him to have a good season next year. What that translates into, I don't know for sure. But I do expect him to have a good goal scoring season next year. Absolutely. You know, he's scored them goals for a reason, and we're buying him for a reason. But yeah. I think I'd still take Gyökeres now, purely because we need it now more than ever. We can't delay.
I agree. I think if it was Sesko, I'd wait. But if it's Gyökeres, I'd get Gyökeres now.
Yeah. Facts, bro.
Yeah, you've got to go. I think you've got to go for a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush type thing here, and give that a go. Terry, was Man United the only club who went for Cunha? Newcastle wanted him as an example, but it's hard. I'd have to go back and read the articles, but United had him tied down on personal terms well before the end of the season, so nobody else really moved. And Mbeumo, different conversation. Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, Newcastle all went in for him, and all got told no. But again, we've had our rejections this summer. Delap and Gyökeres have told us no. We made a late play for Ekitike and got told no. I don't know about other football fans. I'm just too grown up and too thick-skinned to care about the rejection thing. I still think too many football fans cry. The reason why our fans feed us a lot of bullshit as well, though, is because the reason our clubs feed us a lot of bullshit is because most of our fans are not. Women don't do this, the man thing. Most of us are not man enough to just take the truth from our football clubs. So we ask for it to be sugar-coated. We ask for the bullshit. It's as simple as that. It really, really is. We can't.
But the thing is, though, if you're not being rejected, you ain't going for the 10 out of 10s. Do you know what I'm saying? You're going for the 6s and the 7s, right? My club's been rejected by Bellingham, Wirtz. Yeah, Rice was a weird one, but let's throw him in there as well. Yeah, obviously it's gutting. You want the players, right? But I'd much rather be trying to sign the players and get rejected than just not go for them. Like, who cares, man? Do you know what I mean? Show the intent. You're not going to get them all. You know, at the end of the day, if you're going for the best players out there, you're going to be competing with the best teams in this country, the Liverpool. You're going to be competing with Bayern, Real Madrid. Guess what? You're not going to get them all. But I'd rather be getting rejected, but I'm actually getting the players that are.
But you've got to do that. This year's squad depth, mates. A good depth player, good purchase. I think that's talking about Moreno a little bit earlier on in the show. This year says it all depends on what Isak does. If he trains alone due to protest, then I don't think Liverpool is out of the picture this season.
But aren't they getting? I thought they was getting a TK.
They got a little here we go on that, haven't they?
He's in Liverpool. He's in Liverpool doing a medical. I think as things stand right now. So I mean he's going to come in, but there is talk about maybe going. There has been rumors in the Liverpool chat rooms and people connected to Liverpool. They could end up going for both if the opportunity presents itself, because Ekitike has the ability to play out on the left. So there is a view that they could do that. They're also talking to Rodrigo as well, which is crazy. This here says, big up, Terry. You guys did a great job. Sorry, I think I would do that super chat. I didn't unstar it.